Yeah. There will be now.
But he's not as good as Misogynes.
Yeah. Testicules fortitude.
And Biggest Dickus.
Yeah. I had a very good friend in Rome called Biggest Dickus.
Yeah, but that's Romans for you.
Yeah.
Right, we're live, are we not? Let's see. We're right. Evening all.
Evening all. Hello. Are we live?
Hopefully we are.
I bet we live. I bet.
Alphabet Cat is in the chat. Maybe you can confirm.
Alphabet Cat is in the house.
Yeah, he the man.
Yeah, in the house.
Wagwan.
Wagwan,
Yeah,
my
cool.
good gentleman.
Welcome to Fortean Words.
Another one. We're back.
Number 260.
Yeah.
So we'll have to have a celebration episode for number 300.
Celebrate good times. Don't know.
Fortean Party.
Sound is coming through okay, says Internet. It's not good, it's okay. Good evening. Anyway, have we got any quick quips before we get stuck in?
You had a joke, didn't you, Hobbit?
Yes, why did the Mexican stab his wife?
I don't know.
Please tell us. Yeah, never heard.
Tequila!
Hey.
Oh, dear. Doctor, I've got an iceberg up my... Oh, no, that's wrong, isn't it? Screwed that up.
Doctor, I think my head's a stonemason's chisel. Here, take this tablet.
Yeah.
What did Big Chief Running Water name his two sons?
Don't know.
Hot and cold.
Dog shagging.
What did the Mexican fireman name his children?
Hose A and Hose B.
Yeah, you got it. Here we go. At the cutting edge of what's a ghost's favourite food?
Sausages.
Pie.
Goulash.
We're back on
What do
this.
skeletons like to eat?
Don't know.
Spare ribs.
Hey. I used to be a werewolf.
What is it?
I used to be a werewolf, but I'm alright now. Ooh.
What is a Shih Tzu?
I don't know.
But it's a dog, isn't it? So say a dog.
No, you say I went to a zoo the other day. It only had one animal in it. Shih Tzu. It was a Shih Tzu.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah. No, that's the ghost. That's the mirth. Are we ready for some scary shit? Are you ready? Are you ready to literally shit your pants?
Go on,
I've got my shit bucket at the ready.
Yeah, right. You got your poo sock ready. It began with a shootout on the border on the day that President Trump was inaugurated in the little border town of Coventry, Vermont. Teresa Youngblood, and Felix Baukholt, these are real names apparently, a German nationally identified as Ophelia, was stopped by Border Patrol agents. Youngblood allegedly produced a gun and started firing, killing border agent David Malland. Youngblood was wounded in the ensuing exchange of fire, and Baukholt was killed. The pair had been under surveillance for about a week, and after reports that they and a third person had been seen acting suspiciously in the town of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Specifically, they appeared to be rehearsing some kind of tactical manoeuvre, and witnesses claimed that at least one of them was armed. Buckholt had been living in Chapel Hill for a couple of years, and Youngblood had joined him late in 2024. They rented a couple of townhouses from a local who reported weird behaviour.
His name's literally Youngblood.
Youngblood, Youngblood in it.
Well, it is.
Well, it's actually Youngblood. It's like German for Youngblood.
Yeah, so it's Das Youngblood, what it is.
Das Youngblood. Yeah.
Young Blut. Shit myself, yeah.
Does Blut mean blood then, Hobbit?
Yes.
Okay then. They rented a couple of townhouses from a local who reported weird behaviour and a distinct set of threat from them. but he took their money anyway. The news caused very little stir in the legacy media. It had a lot to compete with, but gradually details began to emerge in online forums. Those details were more than a little strange. Youngblood and Backholt were, it was claimed, connected to a group of determinedly non-binary radical vegan activists with a particular animus for AI, as well as all meat eaters. The group was an outlier to the rationalist movement, a brand of philosophy promoted by IT mavens. What's an IT maven? Does anybody know? Is this newspaper speak?
Yeah, it means like somebody who works in IT.
Okay. Why don't just say IT professionals? Or is that too difficult? Are we asking too much here, are we? IT mavens, where is it?
Do you know what in America they call an estate agent?
What?
A real estate agent.
Yeah.
So you got to understand they don't speak English, and that's why instead of saying IT professional.
Oh, and it gets worse. There's more newspaper speak here, and particularly popular among the digiterati in California. The Zesians.
This country we call estate agents cunts, don't we?
Yeah. The Zesians, as they are known, it is not clear if they use the name themselves, follow the writing and thinking of Jack Lasota, a person well known among the rationalists. For her there is some confusion over Lasota's pronoun preferences, left-field views, and the subject of dire warnings from some of the movement's leading figures. Ziz, as Lasota signed the posts, appeared to call for the deaths of a very long list of people, and espoused a no-surrender attitude in respect of the authorities. The posts, which started in 2016, became increasingly violent in intent, and there appears to be some substance to the Ziz list. The Zesians, despite numbering no more than... Is that because they're Zers? Despite numbering no more than 8 people, have left a tragically impressive trail of bodies across the USA. In November 2022, an elderly small-time trailer park owner named Curtis Lind was called into a trailer occupied by 3 members of the group on the pretext of a plumbing problem. Emma Borhian, Alexander Leatham, and Surrey... Jesus Christ. Are these ripper... Did Eric July write this story? Where are these fucking names from? Had been living there rent-free for some years, protected by the COVID lockdown moratorium on evictions. When Lynn turned up, he was attacked with knives and a samurai sword. Allegedly, they're afraid he was going to finally evict them. Impaled on the sword and blinded one eye from a stab wound, Lynn managed to pull out a gun to defend himself. Borhian was killed in the melee. Well, it's not a melee if you pull out a gun. They don't even know what a melee attack is. After several months in hospital, Lind, now extremely frail, was attacked by another member of the group, Maximilian Snyder, and killed. According to witnesses, Snyder stabbed him several times, walked away, and then returned to slit the unfortunate Mr. Lind's throat to ensure he was dead. Snyder is now in custody along with Leatham and Dow. Here another figure enter. This is a nice little thing, so if you were planning on moving to America, good luck to you. Here another figure enters our story, also Zizian, called Michelle Zajko. Zajko's parents, Richard and Rita Zajko, were found dead in their Pennsylvania home from gunshot wounds. Suicide was ruled out, and according to some reports, Ziz was briefly detained as a person of interest in their murders. Meanwhile, Michelle Zajko is suspected of supplying the guns that Youngblood and... It was going to be a ginger tree. Okay. Meanwhile, Michelle Zajko is suspected of supplying the guns that Youngblood and Backholt used in the border shooting. At least one member of the group is reported to have committed suicide. Both Ziz and another member, Gwen Danielson, are alleged to have faked their own deaths in 2022. Quite how many Zesians there were or are now appears to be an open question, though most sources identify 8 people as members, living and dead. Fast forward to the 16th of February, police raided a hideout in Frostburg, Maryland, and arrested Ziz, Lasota, Zajko, and Daniel Blank. They've been charged with a number of offences. It transpired that at least one of the 3 was armed when they were apprehended, and police forces from various states are compiling evidence to link them to the series of killings. After a brief court appearance, where Ziz claimed they were being fed the wrong food in prison and requested a proper vegan diet, all were remanded without bail, and for the moment would appear to account for all all of the members of what may have loosely, and in my view wrongly, called a cult. 5 people are dead, 2 of them Zizians, 2 fake deaths have muddied the legal waters, but for now the killing spree is at an end. The trail from a frankly deranged blog suggesting that 2 halves of the brain can be different genders, and mutually hostile to the point they want to kill each other, has wandered down a terminal rabbit hole. The story is unlikely to end there, however. Trial proceedings, once lawyers have worked out who did what in which state, are likely to uncover more lurid details of the group's activities and beliefs, such as the idea you can get half of your brain to sleep while the other half stays awake, or that eating meat is the most egregious form of murder, or that we all must kill AI before it kills us. Silicon Valley is famously...
If the animal's already dead before you eat it, you can't double murder it. I mean, not eating an animal doesn't unmurder it.
But you got to remember, these people have... their brain chemistry isn't exactly correct at the time of thinking, is it?
Well, I think it's just, before we carry on with this transphobic news story, we here at Fortean Word say trans rights are human rights, and that's why you prefaced it with rights with trans. Just to let you know that it's human rights.
Yeah.
As opposed to just human rights is human rights.
Yeah.
Because we approve of trans here at 48 Words.
Yes.
We're not transphobic. Unlike the vicious landlord who tried to collect rent money from people that was...
How dare he? How dare he try and collect rent money from people?
Vicious transphobic rent seeking.
Yeah. Silicon Valley is famously home to a class of neurodivergent geniuses and mavericks busy kickstarting the apotheosis of intelligent machines. Quite how they spawned a posse of murderous vegans and terminal Luddites is a mystery that is currently opaque to any form of intelligence, artificial or otherwise.
Who's your favourite vegan and why? Shall I start?
Go on then.
My favourite vegan, although she's no longer with us, is Princess Nassim. Do you remember Princess Nassim?
I remember Princess Nassim, and I don't think she's popular around these here parts on YouTube, is she?
But she is on Rumble.
What about Paul McCartney's wife? She was a good one.
She was a vegetarian, wasn't she?
Not the one with one leg, the other one.
No, I think she used to eat meat.
I'm not saying this is the case, but also I'm just saying, Princess Nassim, if you had a bit of beef before you tried to hold a gun, maybe you'd have been able to aim it.
Yeah, same with these two as well. What's got 3 legs and eats fish and chips?
Me.
Paul McCartney and his ex-missus.
I didn't shit myself during that story, though. It was all right, but...
yeah, well, it's vegans taking over the world. You should be scared.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, full McCartney, you mean, by the way. This is Alphabet Cat.
Didn't she milk him dry, that woman, in the end?
No, I think he's all right for you. I don't think he'll be going to the food bank anytime soon, will he, old Sir Paul?
Should we do the Jeff? Should we finish the Jeff thing that I started 2 weeks ago? It won't take long. And
can do.
If you, just stick that notice up that I sent you on that email, the Gazette. We can start there.
I remember about
in the house.
Was it 8 years ago? No, 10 years ago now. Vegans were just like, oh, we just want to eat salad in the privacy of our own homes.
Yeah,
and then it got to about 2 years ago when they're like, hey, bake the spinach, bigot.
I remember.
No, you can't force your vegan ways on me.
But if you go around their house, you have to eat their food.
Why have you put Fred West's house on this list of videos?
Oh man, don't spoil it! Don't spoil it!
Oh come on, everybody knows. Everybody knows 25 Cromwell Street.
Don't spoil it. This is a sequence.
So what you like about Fred West? He lays a good patio.
Yeah, well, it's a sequence of things. There's three things there. We went through it, but if you put that notice up, the first notice from the Gazette, the death notice, well, we can pick it up from there, and then we can show the videos I took on my field trip.
I had a thought, right? You remember Ground Force with Charlie Dimmock and the Tits and the other ones?
She didn't wear a bra.
Yeah.
It's assembling a team, right? You got Fred West does the patios, Joseph Fritzl does the basements, and then we need someone that does gardens. And
yeah,
we'll make a new Ground Force.
Yeah, but anyway. So anyway, what if we just recap to that episode 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So basically, went through Jeff the Talking Mongoose. I'm sure the audience are familiar. The Talking Mongoose.
If not, you can watch. What's it called? Nandor Fodor and the Talking Mongoose, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like. It was on we broadcast it 2 weeks ago. Talking Mongoose on the Isle of Man.
No, I meant the film on Prime on Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, Nandor Fodor and the Talking Mongoose starring
Nandor Fodor hatchback.
Anyway, okay then. So I did investigation, and I did find out Faery Irwin, who was the daughter of the Talking Mongoose family. I found her death notice, and it had her last address on it, which was quite near where I go when I travel to Wales. So I took a detour via there. It's a place called Two Hedges Road, Bishop's Cleeve, Cheltenham, Gloucester, and so I swung by her house and found her house. So basically, let's have a look at the video I took. Video number 1 there, Emmy, of the house of Faery Irwin, the daughter of
I've just been
right, so I'll share the audio so you don't have to
into
I'm sharing the audio.
The Talking Mongoose. I've got the book here.
Well, you can get us to sign it
by Christopher Jolliffe. Quite a good book. And also the Fortean Times from December 2010 with an article about Jeff. We've been reading that, but I've come across this online. So
is it raining that day, Ian?
Was a bit, yes.
I could see the water spots on the printout.
2nd of September 2005.
And I've had a blood test. I've had a blood test as well. You can see my hand.
It's actually got an address here of her final residence, which is Two Hedges Road, which happens to be where I am now, in Bishop's Cleeve.
That's a very nice cat-themed bag for life you've got there, Ian.
Here we are.
Thank you.
Just going to have a look.
Is that your favourite one?
It's actually that house there.
A bungalow?
Where Faery lived in her later years. Let's go and have
I don't think they're the original windows.
So here we are.
So which one is that? The bungalow or?
Yeah, the bungalow.
Not a very nice day, but let's see.
What year did she die?
So here we are.
2005.
Oh, okay.
Two Hedges Road.
You need to get yourself a steady cam.
It was a bit windy that day.
As you know, in her younger years, Faery lived in a remote farmhouse on the Isle of Man with her parents, James and Margaret, and a talking mongoose called Jeff. So, Faery and her parents became world famous because of Jeff throughout the 1930s, and much speculation and investigation fell upon them. In 1958, Faery left the Isle of Man, moved to the mainland, and kept a low profile for the rest of her life in an attempt to distance herself from what had happened in the past.
Those poor people living there, they're like, what's this fucking weirdo standing outside my house talking to himself for?
Faery lived and spent her final days after she left the Isle of Man, and this is where we are. So wow. Two Hedges Road, it's this house. Amazing.
Dun dun dun.
Closer look, closer look. Wow.
Did Jeff not go back and visit her?
That Faery Irwin lived here all those years ago, and it would have been on these streets and these pavements that Faery walked, going about her daily business. And it's an eerie feeling I'm getting as I stand here, very peculiar. And it says beware of the dog. If you have a look there, zoom in a bit. Interesting, beware of the dog, not beware.
Yeah, that's cleared nothing up, thanks Ian for the zoom in.
Yes, most peculiar, the whole thing. Look at the whole thing we've got here.
Oh, I see why you picked. Oh no, here you go. You're not going to get beaten up again, are you, Ian?
Oh no.
Yeah, so that's the one there. So that's what we've got there.
You got to Scarpa again, have you?
Bear with me one moment. Sorry.
I had to stop. So if we look at that there, so basically, as we saw there, I found. Hang on, pause that one. So I found Faery's house as we saw. But unfortunately, I was interrupted by a guy who said that he was the warden, and we saw him there, of those houses, and it was private property, and I shouldn't be filming there.
You on the street? Did you do the auditing thing? Bruv, it's my human rights, innit, bruv? I got rights in it, bruv.
Yeah. It was a public road, and the guy was talking shit about it being private property, but I didn't want to have an argument, so I stopped filming, and I got some footage anyway. I did ask the guy if he knew anything about the previous residents of the house, and he said he didn't, and he wasn't really interested in my project. So apart from the fact that some guy interrupted me, it then became windy, started raining, and I'd wondered if I had managed to anger the spirit of Jeff. Could have done. I then went over the other side of the road, and just to finish my commentary, away from that guy. So basically, play the second video. Let's just finish it off, and let's have a look.
After filming there, a guy came out and told me I couldn't film as it was private. No, I'm not sure about that, but that's the house anyway. To finish it off, but in 1970, a journalist managed to track down Faery, and she gave a rare interview.
Well, it's like fucking Piccadilly Circus down that road, isn't it?
I know.
Jeff was real and not a hoax. And she said there was a little animal who talked and did all those things. He said he was a mongoose and said we should call him Jeff. I do wish he had left us alone. Faery died 19 years ago, and there's quite a large estate around here, so it's possible that residents may have known Faery all those years ago. Maybe some are still here, maybe not. But here we are, the house of Faery Irwin. Peculiar.
Jeff.
Oh, Jeff's there.
Jeff followed her.
Jeff followed him. He's there. He's got his beady eye on you.
Yeah.
Dalton Church. You don't need that one. That's an old one.
Oh no, fuck that. Take that. Don't play that again. So that was my visit to Faery Irvin's house, and
you were stalked by Jeff the mongoose.
Guys, that guy was a pain in the arse. But anyway, it was a nondescript, plain, nothing special house. But knowing what I knew, it was a very peculiar experience. Oh, okay then. So that was in Gloucester. So obviously, Gloucester itself isn't the most interesting of places to the outsider. Just a run-of-the-mill English city. However, if you are of a certain age, Gloucester can only mean one thing.
I remember the news. I remember the news reports from the time. It's like
exactly.
Police are digging up a garden in the search for a missing child.
I'm not one to miss an opportunity. So whilst in Gloucester, I had to, didn't I? Run VT. Let's have a look.
So I've been reading that book, and Look where we are.
Cromwell Street. Dun dun dun.
Exactly. So, we're in Gloucester, and
I bet they're absolutely sick to death of people like you, Ian.
one to miss an
In Gloucester
opportunity.
Street. In Cromwell Street.
I've swung by another historic location.
They're like, oh God, here he is,
Let's have a
another
look
fucking
and
weirdo.
see. So, in 1972, married couple Fred and Rose West moved to this street in Gloucester with their children. The couple were known for dismembering and murdering women and young girls, including 2 of their own children. And they committed at least 12 murders between 1967 and 1987. The family lived at number 25, which once stood at this location. Let's have a look. Here we are. Here. There we go.
Well, there's
In
Fred. There's the ghost of
1994,
Fred
9
running away.
bodies, including their daughter Heather, were discovered buried in the cellar and the garden of the home, and Fred and Rose were accused and found guilty of the murders. On the 1st of January 1995, Fred managed to commit suicide by hanging himself while on remand in prison, whilst Rose was tried and convicted of the murders and sentenced to life in prison.
And then she went on to be a leser.
Due to the nature of the activities that took place here, the house was demolished in 1996. So we can see that there. Let's have a look. Let's get out of the way of these people.
You can probably work out where the garden is from that house.
Really strange.
It was actually here with the Carters,
Yeah,
the hoodlums.
the house is no longer here, but it was all down there. Okay, then. So let's have a closer look.
I'll see you eyeing that bird up, Ian.
It was here the house
my
once
wife.
stood.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Below the
okay. Well,
surface.
you obviously were eyeing her up then.
Rose buried the bodies, so it was below here. And I can feel a peculiar energy standing here, and it's not
I did.
a good energy.
Nope.
I wonder if there are any of the neighbours around here.
I don't know, it's a
knew
peculiar
the West
something
family.
on that
It
wall.
was 30 years ago, so maybe not. So,
Is that what you term your long-suffering wife, is it, Ian?
Walked
She has to come up,
pavements,
just to come with me on my Scooby-Doo type.
doing their
excursions.
daily business, whilst harbouring the horrific
We're like
secret.
Fred and
So
Daphne.
there we go. There we
Like
have
Fred
it.
and Daphne.
25 Cromwell Street.
Ooh.
The House of Horrors.
There we go. So that
Oh,
was my
fucking
trip to
not the
Gloucester.
church again. It's obsessed with
Oh,
playing
no,
no,
no, no.
church.
You are.
It's bizarre hearing like your voice narrating the video, and then like your voice as commentary not in the video but in the stream.
That's Dom. That is.
Exactly.
Stood on,
I mean,
stood on.
surprisingly enough,
Oh, that's Dom,
exactly
is
the
it?
same-
Dom scratching his
Yeah, that
ass.
figure on the hill is Dom.
The spooky figure.
That was our camping trip last summer. I think we're gonna have a city break this year instead.
Oh, are
a
you?
holiday. Yeah, maybe a bit of luxury this year rather than rough it. But yeah, there we go. So it's good to have a 40-in trip. Yeah, so there we are. That was
Did you want
nice.
to do the Fiji
I hope you-
mermaid? Since I've got it.
Well, if they haven't, yeah. Well, all right then. We did do the Fiji mermaid, didn't we, some time ago?
Yeah.
Basically, Fiji mermaid, for those that don't know, it's basically the upper half of a monkey, the lower half of a salmon, sewn together by fishermen, and basically that's what it was. They tell people.
Oh, I'll mute this
it
one
was
'cause
a-
it's just like hissy. And
No, I commentate this when you can have a
Oh,
look.
do you? Oh,
Turn
okay.
turn this down to be
2023,
pause it.
and we're better to be than the Frankenstein Museum in Bath. And what's this we got over here? Let's go and have a look.
they are vile. Those things are vile.
Wow, look at that. The Fiji mermaid. Let's have a closer look. An ugly brute, isn't he? Let's see. Look at that.
Good lord, that is vile.
Wow. The Fiji
I
mermaid.
know it's very important the
Half
storm,
man,
but that looks like a shoal of
half
shallow
fish.
rocks.
Let's have another closer look at him, his hands. Oh. Look at that. Disgusting, isn't it? Disgusting. That is horrible.
That is pretty
Yeah, so there we
grim,
go. That's but it was good to find one anyway after doing a program. There's also one, I think, in the Science Museum in London if you look hard enough. But apart from that,
Nautical saying is any port in the storm, but that port looks like a. Do you call it? Is it a shoal of of rocks, shallow rocks? Like when they say, "Oh,
It's a
ships
reef,
shouldn't
innit?
sail here."
reef. I
A
think.
reef of shallow rocks.
Yeah.
a reefer.
I don't smoke the
Yeah.
You
reefer.
don't want to. You'll run aground, skipper, if you try and.
The title of this video is
around
making
to-
me chuckle. As time goes by, 1992, cast then and now, the cast is tragically old.
But you've got James O'Brien there as well.
Yeah,
Play
yeah.
him and his
Jobby.
and his Brexit. He doesn't like Brexit. Has he
I
ever-
hate
has he ever said-
I use whistles from the top of his mouth like that, doesn't he?
But
I hate
you didn't know-
Brexit.
He doesn't like Brexit. You wouldn't think that, would you?
I can't stand the monkey-eared twat. He does my head in.
Isn't it? And his sour face when he talks about Brexit.
Yeah.
All right, get over it.
Are we ready for some death by Faery now?
Yeah, go on then.
How beautiful they are, the lordly ones who dwell in the hills, the hollow hills. That's written by Fiona MacLeod. It's
Just a
from The
second.
Immortal Hour.
What was the name of the guy again? James Melville or something?
James O'Brien.
James O'Brien, that's the one.
Yeah.
You know the time where he went through an entire bog roll in one day? That was because of
That was Brexit.
That's his show every day, though.
Yeah, Brexit. 8 years on, Brexit is still haunting us.
I don't like Brexit. I don't like Brexit. I don't like Brexit.
All people who vote for Brexit are poopy pants.
I don't like Brexit.
You voted for Brexit, you murdered children.
Hello, can I have a crumb of Brexit, please?
You know what I don't like?
Brexit.
Yeah.
And he does the slow talking thing, and then when he really wants to emphasise a point, he he whistles from the top of his mouth like that, and I don't know why he does that.
And he screws his
You know-
face up and looks down
Yeah.
at his
I know
genitalia.
what you like about Fred West and Myra Hindley, but they never voted for Brexit.
So what you like about Fred West, but he did a good patio.
Hobbit, did you vote for Brexit?
I'll have to ask Jimmy Savile for advice on that one.
Okay.
I'll plead the Jimmy Savile on that one.
What about this thing then, the Faery thing? Never
Right.
right. Brexit.
Faery's voted for Brexit. You can, I'll prove it to you. To go in search of the unknown could be a perilous path. One such unfortunate was a student of the occult, Nora Fornario, who leaves behind an incomplete life and an incaution. Well, it's kind of complete 'cause she's dead. It'd be incomplete if she was still alive, wouldn't it?
Imagine if you get the occult and the yakult mixed up, and you just all you happens is that you end up farting a lot.
Does Yakult give you the farts, and does it?
Yeah.
Well,
And it makes you follow through.
probiotic. So,
Yeah.
I had Brexit once. It made me follow through.
Yeah, it's not much. It doesn't really soak in the milk. The Brexit. I prefer cornflakes.
Yeah. Wild conjecture about her death in November 1929 has sprung up like a dense mass of tangled weeds. From the outset, Miss Ferranio's curious demise was obscured by sensationalised newspaper reports. The cauldron of speculation was kept on the boil by authors such as Francis King, who covered the case in the best-selling 1970 book Ritual Magic. In more recent times, a concoction of imaginative misinformation has made a minor internet cult out of the ill-starred young woman who sought direct contact with the fairy folk. Of Italian English heritage, Marie Edith Emily Nora Fornario was born in Egypt, like all Italian English people. A favourite haunt of her parents in 1897. During the course of her short life, Miss Fornario reinvented herself on several occasions. First, by peeling away all of her cumbersome clothes, first names except for Nora, after her mother. Later, she was to call herself Netta, probably to symbolise a rebirth in the mysteries. The great esoteric movement that gathered pace at the close of the 19th century reflected a thirst for enlightenment, which the young woman shared. In a 1928 essay published in the Occult Review, Netta observed, "The true evolutionary purpose of imagination is to enable the personality to quarry from the dull and inspiring grind of everyday life the material which shall be transformed by the alchemical action of spiritual potencies into a universal temple." Why, that was some word salad, wasn't it? The search for something more than mundanity meant that a magical order such as the Golden Dawn could not only flourish but could boast a membership at different times, included W.B. Yeats, it's Yeats, isn't it? Arthur Manchon, Algernon Blackwood, Constance Wilde, the wife of Oscar. Although the order had been founded upon elaborate fabrication, the rituals devised by one of GD's creators, Samuel Liddell McGregor. Yeah.
A very boring sci-fi book called Flowers for Algernon.
It's not boring. It's quite a good book. It's about a dummy, but it's that episode of Red Dwarf when they make Holly Smart.
Oh, maybe I'm mixing it up with Hyperion.
Yeah, Flowers for Algernon's like that. They make a dummy smart, but I think it either kills him or it wears out after a time.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's the thing, is the Red Dwarf has got all these references which I don't get, because all I've read is Isaac Asimov and Frank Herbert. That's it.
Plus you can't watch Craig Charles anymore without thinking of him wanking in a taxi on crack.
I think of Craig Charles more as the presenter of Robot Wars than I do Red Dwarf.
Yeah, but things like everyone forgets him of the rapist of the secretary in the broom cupboard that he went to prison for.
He used to do poetry.
What's a bit of rape between friends?
Yeah,
poetry in prison.
That's how he started.
Poetry on Saturday Night Live, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he did Red Dwarf, and then Coronation Street. Then did crack and was wanking in a taxi.
No, raping secretaries came before that. That come between. That come between Red Dwarf and Coronation Street, I think.
Oh, right.
He liked doing a bit of poetry at the end of Robot Wars. He'd always say something that was.
Yeah, that's what he started off as. He was like a little pimply faced poet.
Well, he still is, isn't he? He's a thespian.
A taxi wanker now.
Yes, but he's a thespian taxi wanker. This isn't just any act of onanism. This is smoking crack whilst reading Playboy in the back of a taxi onanism.
Oh, here you go. Here's a Craig. Here we go. So let's listen. This is from BBC Two, Riverside.
Oh, he's so posh.
Stale tobacco turns the waiting nostrils yellow, as dry ice rises to the ceiling so you can't tell the paint is peeling. And you can't half smell the setting gel, the lipsticks and Q-tips, the face paint and red lips. Jason turns and pops and spins and moves himself to the Thompson twins.
These words speak to my soul.
Yeah, there you go. Right, that'll do. I'll probably get a copyright struck for that. But
you're not going to play it all.
Do you want to play all this pretentious wank?
No. I was being sarcastic.
I can play all of this. If you really want this, all this pretentious wank, I can play it for you.
Leave it. Not very good anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's Craig Charles before he was a rapist and a Red Dwarf
and a taxi wanker.
A crack taxi wanker.
Yeah. I don't know anybody who's wanking a taxi on crack.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Well, I'm sure Michael Hutchins probably would have done it.
No, he liked wanking on the back of hotel doors, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
With a belt round his neck.
Yeah, dirty bastard.
Dirty fucker.
Yeah. That's
literal
gross.
wanker.
Yeah.
He could have had any woman and he went and did that and killed himself.
Yeah. Then again,
he could have had any woman and he had Paula Yates.
He could have had any woman. Yeah, he had a woman who'd had every man.
Exactly.
Just, oh god! Imagine having sex with a woman that Bob's had sex with.
What, Bob Holness?
No, Bob. What's his name?
Orgies.
Give us your fucking money. What's his name, Ian?
Oh, him, Bob Hoskins.
Bob Geldof.
Bob Geldof, yeah. I mean, who'd really have sex with somebody that Bob Geldof had sex with? I don't know.
Well, she was a professional groupie, though, wasn't she? That was her.
Yeah, and her dad was the geezer from the Golden Shot, weren't he? And when he,
yeah, it was actually, wasn't it? And that came out later in life. I don't think she didn't know who her dad was, like her kids, and that came out later in life. Huey Green,
that was it.
I like how Bob Geldof looks like a bin bag.
Yeah. Do you remember him? Give us your fucking money. Do you remember that?
Well, I do know of it. I didn't watch it because
Yeah.
Live Aid was like Phil Collins, Annie Lennox, just those 80 shit.
No, they went over to America and Run DMC were on it, weren't they?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. I think wasn't Huey Lewis and the News on it.
I like
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much.
You like Stevie Wonder?
No, Huey Lewis and the News.
Have you seen Stevie Wonder's new car?
It's hip to be square. Have
you seen Stevie Wonder's new car?
No, has he?
Go on then. Yeah, of course he has. Because conspiracy theory, he can see.
Well, the thing is, conspiracy theory, blind people aren't actually blind. They can actually see a bit. Very few people are actually completely blind. So you can actually see a bit, so he can. That's why he drives. But you can apply that joke to any blind man. So if you pick a blind man like Ray Charles, have you seen Ray Charles's new car?
No, because he's dead.
Neither is he.
Neither is he, because he's dead. He was dead before it was.
But when he was alive, when he was alive, let's pretend. All right, yeah. But
did you know Ray Charles's dog has got no nose?
How does it smell?
It doesn't.
Neither is he.
Doesn't it? Got a nose.
Yeah, Ray Charles can't smell either because he's blind.
Who's worse? Who's worse, John Cooper Clarke or Craig Charles?
John Hagley.
Can there be like some sort of like event for the Olympics? Seeing as we got breakdancing, can we have like competitive masturbation in a taxi? And we put Craig Charles and him in like taxis and.
Yeah, but Australia don't have a team anymore, do they? Is that too soon?
They could have that sport. They could have taxi wanking in the Olympics, and then that Australian woman can turn up and do it really badly.
Well, you could do it like the. you could do it. You could do it like the. Was it like the biathlon or the triathlon or something? Where they got to run, do the crack, run back to the taxi. Got wank off really quick. I don't know what the third. What would the third leg be? Rape a secretary in a cupboard.
And the men can take part. The women.
This is basically just an event for Craig Charles. I don't think it really applies to anyone else except for Craig Charles's event.
Well, look, Craig Charles is definitely like up there on the podium.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure they're like other countries. Like, I want to see the chief like crack wanker from Mongolia compete against Craig Charles.
I think India would be quite good at crack wanking, wouldn't they?
But how fast can they run?
Yeah.
And also, they could have the kill yourself wanking event, and Australia would win that as well.
Oh, I don't know. America have got a decent entry, haven't they? Because they got old Kill Bill, haven't they? Was it him out of Kung Fu? He did the same thing, didn't he?
Killed himself wanking.
Too bad George Floyd's not alive. I'd put him up for crack wanking.
Yeah.
He'd be good at that. He could represent the USA for crack wanking. Is it going to be like the long jump where they do the hop, skip, and the jump? Are they going to be like, see who can shoot the ropes the furthest?
Oh,
you can shoot their load the furthest.
Yeah.
Who can do like the biggest like a cloud of crack?
Yeah.
And who could shoot the rope the front? And who's the fastest, can shoot the most, and come quickest, and do the biggest big crack?
Did you know there's a group called Wet Leg that did a song called Shays Long?
No, but now I'm disappointed. Oh. I try to find out the lyrics for Rotterdam is Anywhere.
Yeah.
But on the Wikipedia page, instead of like showing the lyrics, it's talking about how he came up with the song. And apparently what he was is he was cold, tired and smelly, and he was in a cafe in Rotterdam, and the Dutch owners were just being really shitty with him, saying like, oh, you can't sit there, that table's reserved, and maybe you don't want to go to, like, maybe like to go somewhere else. And they're basically trying to do everything they could to push him along. It's just like, look, I want something. And then when they gave him the food, it was really just not very good.
Yeah. Right, now are we all crack wanked out because we got a fairy story to do?
The wood roses, they're hiding the fairies. They're in cahoots with them.
Yeah.
What page are you in the fairy story? Because you said it was 7 pages long.
I'm about halfway through page 1.
All right, yeah. It's going to be a long night then.
It's going to be a long night tonight. We are staying here until it's done.
Hey, you say it's going to be a long night tonight, but you have a crack wank, and it just suddenly things aren't so bad.
Often described as eccentric.
A crack wank and a pot noodle.
Do you want some crack? I could get hold of some.
Who the fuck is McGregor Mathers anyway? I don't. But Mathers, nevertheless, was an esoteric adept who conceived a complex system of attainment that ranged from... I don't think much of this is to do with her, is it? Blah, blah, blah. Golden Dawn. There's some more about the Golden Dawn. If I wanted to do a story about the Golden Dawn, I'd do a story about them. Right, so blah, 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 Golden Dawn. Let's move this on a bit. Another young initiate, Netta Fornario, is not quite so experienced in the mystical arts as Violet Firth. Although she was dressed for the part, favouring flowering arts and craft style tunics, which would be described as boho today, Netta complemented her look with chunky jewellery and wore her dark hair in long plaits. Is that her underarm hair or just a regular hair? Her fervour for the occult matched that of Violet, and they struck up a friendship based on their common interests. Unusually independent, Miss Fornario had received a generous inheritance from her maternal grandfather, who had become available via a trust fund, which had become available to her via trust fund on her 18th birthday in 1915. So trust fund, baby. To some degree, this was to be Netta's undoing, as she was able to indulge her fascinations in a way that most young women of her time were unable to do. So, freedom for women, bad. I think this is what this is saying.
Orange man, bad.
Freedom for women, bad. However, her freedom had come a price. Come on then. Sorry, I thought you were saying something. However,
Brexit bad.
Yeah.
Brexit bad.
However, her freedom had come at a price. Her mother Nora died before her first birthday, and her heartbroken father Giuseppe returned to live in Italy, leaving his daughter with her affluent grandparents. She was to visit Giuseppe several times, although she was granted UK citizenship in 1922. Look at that, giving away like fucking smarties as ever. Using her inheritance, Netta had purchased a large attractive house in a leafy discreet neighbourhood, 73 Mortlake Road, Kew, Richmond. Ian, you ever in Richmond?
Richmond in Surrey, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
is it that in I think there's a teacher training college there, which has a lot more women than men. It's something like 5-1. So if you want to get some,
Leg over.
that's the place to go. Yes, that's the place to go.
She engaged a motherly housekeeper, Miss Varney, who was wise enough to accept her youthful employer's mystical tendencies. In a later interview, the housekeeper explained her role. I had to do everything for her, even put her to bed at night and serve her meals. She was like a child. The house was divided into 2 flats, with Netta taking... So basically, like, if she was around now, she'd be on Homes in the Sun, wouldn't she? Like... hello, I'm retarded. I've got about 2 million to spend on a house abroad.
Or maybe she'd be on Homes Under the Hammer with Peter Sutcliffe.
Peter.
I just thought of that. I'm pleased with that.
That's not bad. That's not bad. That one.
I'm keeping that one.
Who would like give you the heebie-jeebies more? Him or that bloke who got done for fraud? Didn't he get done for fraud? The main geezer, Martin.
Off Homes Under the Hammer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I used to like that fat girl off the property programme. I can't remember her name.
Kirsty.
Yeah. She was always pregnant though, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's obviously her husband thrown one into her, didn't he? Yeah, she's a terrible shit.
If I was married to her, if I was married to her, she'd be always pregnant as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
pregnant and barefoot. The house was divided into 2 flats, with Netta taking the upper floor. Tellingly, the family who leave beneath her cut short their tenancy due to Miss Fornario's peculiarities. Not only did she hold seances alone, but she welcomed her few friends to join her in attempts at communing with the beyond. Communing with the beyond. Oh, good lord. Could you imagine that? Like loads of hippie fucking people in the house smelling of fucking joss sticks constantly. Oh, God, it'd be awful.
And drumming. Drumming circle upstairs.
Yeah, drumming circle. Vagina yeast beer. It'd be all that kind of stuff, wouldn't it?
I know. Smoking pot.
Yeah. Hobbit, do you want to join into this one? Imagine what Fornario's mates would be like.
I have nothing to say. I'm awestruck. I'm struck dumb.
Hippie bird with too much money. Come on, Hobbit, you know what her mates are like.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of cats there.
Yeah. No, this was before cats were cool. I think there'd be like at least one junkie laying in the hall.
Yeah, with like cats eating a sick.
Listening to Bob Dylan and shit like that.
Oh no, this was before that, weren't it? So it'd be like whatever the 1922 version of Bob Dylan was.
Charlie Chaplin.
There'd just be constant fucking sitar gramophones on, wouldn't it?
And LSD, that kind of thing.
Tripping out. Did they have LSD in 1922? I bet.
They had opium.
It was 1930s it came out.
Would it have been the laudanum back then? Wouldn't it? 1922.
Yeah. Oh, they could have had magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
Well, they could have had a 7% solution of cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what I'd have.
Is that a lot?
So at least
sit back in my dressing gown.
At least one newspaper report featured a quote from a former resident who claimed that after Netta completed her schooling in Eastbourne, she spent time at a mental health institution. Regardless of conjecture, she'd be setting fire to Teslas right now, wouldn't she, if she was in current year? Netta's vulnerability was apparent, thus rendering her magical preoccupations all the more dangerous. Of particular concern to Miss Varney was the young woman's practice of going into trance states. She would shut herself up in a room, put blankets over her head, and a large white sheet over her hands and shoulders. She was trying to be a Scooby-Doo ghost. She weren't trying to commune with the beyond.
Yeah, she would have got away with it if it wasn't for those pesky kids.
She'd have got away with it if it weren't for that pesky housekeeper tucking her up in bed. Covered in this way, she remained for hours and sometimes days, and tell me afterwards that she had healed people by telepathy and had some extraordinary visions. Oh, excuse me. Oh. Several times she said she had been to the far beyond. Is that a curry house around the corner? And had come back to life after spending time in another world. Miss Varney feared that Netta would one day go into a trance from which she could not return.
What page are you on now?
I'm motoring now. We're on page 3.
That's not bad. Is Sam Fox on page 3?
No, it's that fucking Netta bird. No, it's that Violet. It's that Violet Firth bird in some weird get-up.
Or is it Linda Lasardi or Maria Whittaker?
Oh, or Leilani Dowding. He's a conspiracy theorist on the internet now. Do you remember she used to be in Nuts all the time? Or Zoo? I can't remember which one.
And Joe Guest was one, wasn't she?
Oh, Joe Guest. Yeah. Joe Guest. What's her name? Lucy Pinder.
Jordan before she had all the surgery, and Harvey,
God, yeah,
and she was actually not bad in those days. So this is a long time ago, though. Thinking about it, but anyway,
when entering a religious order, change of name signifies spiritual transformation. Do you know, Ian?
No, but I entered a marathon last week. I'm still finding bits of nut and lugar under my foreskin.
Very funny, Ian. A similar procedure was adopted by occultists. Most famously, aforementioned Violet Firth became Ian Fortean. It would rise to become one of the period's most celebrated esoteric visionaries. Netta Fornario, meanwhile, evolved into the seemingly obscure Mac Tyler. That's a great name, isn't it? Which she also used as a nom de plume. The rationale behind choosing the name Mac also almost certainly alludes to the Highland chronicler of Faery, Fiona MacLeod. Of moderate talent but prodigious literary output, Fiona attempted to do for Scottish folklore what Yeats had achieved for Islands. Unlike Yeats, with his thoughtful poetic sensibility, MacLeod produced a sprawling patchwork of Celtic hyperbole.
And also, non de plume is French for a guy that has been castrated.
Yeah. A hyperbole, is that something you can put your cereal in a hyperbole?
Yeah, or you can put your crack in your hyperbole, spark it up.
Yeah.
Yep. Get fucked up.
However, the entity known as Fiona MacLeod didn't
take you into the fourth dimension.
Yeah.
Hyperbole, faster than light.
However, the entity known as Fiona MacLeod didn't really exist, being the pseudonym of William Sharp, a bookish fantasist. MacLeod's biographer, Steve Blamires, there's some weird names in this. The Chronicles of Sidhe. In the Chronicles of Sidhe, I don't know if it's Michael Jackson, but Sidhe reflects upon the author's dual nature. The revelation of fairy mysteries was addressed to readers who did not know that she, Fiona, was a fairy, and that she used the physical body of William Sharp to actually put pen to paper. Like many others, Netta had assumed that Fiona MacLeod was a woman. Well, you would, wouldn't you? Fiona's a chick's name, isn't it? Whether anyone aside from her biographer believed that she was a fairy hadn't yet been ascertained. Fiona had permanently departed for the fairy realm in 1905 when William Sharp died. However, her play, The Immortal Hour, was to enjoy a posthumous production when adapted as a music drama by composer Rutland Broughton. Are all these names made up? Have you ever met anybody with a name close to any of these names?
I think they are made up. Like Everard Dick.
Yeah, Eileen Dover.
Yeah.
And staged at the Regent Theatre in London, 1922. Inserted in each slender programme was a guide to the drama, which was described as the story of winning back of the wayward or wanderer to a former state of happiness. An enchanted Netta Fornario was to attend the production 23 times. Inspired, she wrote a feature-length review of The Immortal Hour as Mac Tyler in January 1923. Netta was an intelligent woman, but the article lacks critical perspective and displays the kind of credulity that was ultimately to lead to her doom. The feature commences with a description of the audience, who are separated into 4 distinct categories. The first, to which Mac belongs, are the students of mysticism and folklore, who are able to understand the greater truths concealed behind the gossamer curtain of Faery. As for the rest of the audience, the better ones appreciate the beauty of the production, but are nevertheless hopelessly baffled by their inability to interpret the intricate symbolism. It would not be unreasonable to suggest that Mac believed she belonged to a mystically illuminated coterie. Her lofty idealism did not waver after Ian Fortean was expelled from the AO when Moina Mathers claimed to have seen something amiss in the younger woman's aura. The expulsion may have had something to do with Ian Fortean's occult ambitions, as she rapidly outgrew the Alpha Omega temple. According to Fortean, in her most popular book, Psychic Self-Defense, Moina subsequently unleashed a vituperative psychic attack upon... What the fuck does vituperative mean?
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah. On her. Needless to say, when Dion started her own mystery school, the Society of Inner Light, Netta followed. This must have been a golden time for her, as Ian Fortean notes in Psychic Self-Defense that for 3 years they had an intimate friendship and did a great deal of work together. Unfortunately, two significant incidents were to cast a shadow over the remainder of Netta's brief life. The first involved an intense magical working performed while visiting Glastonbury tour with the Society in May 1926. Allegedly, during an invocation, those present experienced a huge energy surge, which Netta perceived as direct communication from green ray elementals, otherwise known as the fairies. According to the teachings of the Inner Light, contact with green ray elementals can induce an inebriation of the soul. But this path may also have dangers, for it tends to turn in upon itself, an issue from whence it came. It may become a fixed state and not a path, and the soul lingering there may be overtaken by night.
But it doesn't say if it was was it a positive energy that they felt on the Glastonbury tour, or a negative energy?
Well, we're green.
I felt a negative energy when I was on Fred West's patio.
Did you?
So, I did, yeah, and that's. They don't say what.
Did he lay in the new patio there?
He laid a few patios, didn't he?
Yeah. We'll never know if any private conversations took place between Fortean and Fornario following the Glastonbury working. One thing is certain: whatever jolted Mac happened under the auspices of the Society. In Psychic Self-Defense, Fortean elucidates upon her former friend, stating that she was especially interested in the green ray elemental contacts. Too much interested in them for my peace of mind, I became nervous and refused to cooperate with her. I do not object to reasonable risks, but it appeared to me that Mac, as we called her, was going into very deep waters even when I knew her, and that there was certain to be trouble sooner or later. Fortean perhaps feared as much for the reputation of the Society as she did for Mac, and the two women went their separate ways. Adrift from her Inner Light associates, Netta Fornario entered the final phase of her life, which had become increasingly isolated. Many press reports published after her death stated that Netta had issues with her father, yet she accepted an invitation to holiday with him in Egypt in 1928. It must have been an emotional reunion, especially for Giuseppe, as in his daughter he would have seen something of his late wife, who had as deep an appreciation for Egypt as her husband did. Although a Christian, who did not agree with Netta's beliefs. Dr. Fornario appears to have studied Egyptian mythology, including their deities. Surprisingly, this was to be the cause of some friction. Attending the street market, Giuseppe purchased a statuette of Osiris as a memento of the vacation for his daughter. Netta initially refused to accept the gift, proclaiming, Osiris is the symbol of tragedy and violent death. If you remember your Egyptian mythology, Osiris was murdered and his spirit became the judge of the dead. I'm sure the statue will... Go on then.
Plus, if he bought it from the market, it was probably dodgy anyway. It was probably stolen.
Fake. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure the statue will bring me all kinds of bad luck. Her father refused to take her objections seriously. He said, don't be silly, Nora. Osiris was the god of light and health and virtue. Oh. I insist that you get over these absurd notions and do me the honour of accepting the gift. Eventually, Netta consented, while issuing a stark warning that anything happened to her, the blame was upon... It's all your fault! I don't want it! I don't want your fucking statue! You fucking have the fucking statue! No, I'm not having the fucking statue! You have the fucking statue, alright? It was probably something like that.
And it sounds quite incestuous, this whole thing, as well.
Yeah.
And, did you say her name was Nora?
Yeah.
Was she from a sitcom set in the north of England or something?
He would later give an interview to an Italian paper that was translated by the Milwaukee Sentinel, which ran the story with the dramatic headline, Weird Death of Scientist Daughter Linked to Cursed Statue. According to Ben Oakley in his book Death on Iona, Giuseppe continued to tease his daughter about good health. He's like, you're keeping that statue, aren't you, bitch? Despite the influence of Osiris. This fatherly banter would continue until August 29, when Netta Fornario embarked for Iona. Fucking hell, this is dragging it.
Right, I know, it's going on a bit.
So we go. We're finally getting to the meat and potatoes now.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
we get to the neeps. We get to the neeps and tatties of the matter.
Well, that's Burns night. I think of there.
Probably. An associated
St. Patrick. Just one thing. St. Patrick's night. I went out on St. Patrick's night, and they were serving potatoes and cabbage, and it was fucking horrible.
I thought it was corned beef.
Just
and
carry
cabbage.
on. Well, I had potatoes and cabbage, and I was thinking that's fucking. I like Guinness, but the other stuff. Anyway, carry on. Just nothing.
An isolated Scottish island, Iona was the cradle of Celtic Christianity for over 600 years. Founded by Saint Columba in around 575, it remains the spiritual hub, attracting pilgrims as well as tourists in the summer season. In her collected papers, Christian mystic Evelyn Underhill recalls the tale of a traveller who tells an elderly Highlander that she has just visited Iona. He responds, "Aye, Iona is a very thin place." The traveller asks him to explain the meaning of thin place. The old man responded, There's no much between Iona and the Lord.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, St. Columba, you know what he was the first person to do, don't you?
What?
You don't know? He was the first person to see the Loch Ness Monster in 500 AD. Okay. Yeah, he had the first sighting in the River Ness. Oh. The monster attacked a creature crossing the river, and he stopped the event. So yeah.
So today the expression is used to denote maybe you could go up to Iona and have a listen in at the Faery Mound.
Yeah. I haven't got a fucking clue who she is. So
no, Iona's an island.
Oh, it is. I don't know. I'm a bit lost. Go on, carry on.
Iona's the island that's got the Faery Mound on it, where she.
I thought it was a woman.
Where she no, you're thinking of that diminutive comic, aren't you?
What page are we on?
Hobbit. What's that midget comic called? The Scottish one.
Rosie Jones.
I thought her name was Iona. Or was Hobbit gone?
Don't know what you're talking about.
Who's that little Scottish comic? Looks like a lesbian.
Jimmy Cranky.
Rona. That's who I was thinking of.
Rona Cameron.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking.
She's not midget. I mean, I was thinking of Rona Cameron, but she's normal sized, isn't she?
I don't know. She looks short.
He's hot.
Well, you see that you can't just throw a spanner in the works and say, "What's the name of that Scottish midget?" And I was just like, "What? The one that was on Lord of the Rings? No, not Lord of the Rings. What's that shit show that I lost interested in? King's Landing."
Oh yeah, no, he's American.
Peter Dinklage.
He's American, and he's Dinklage.
Yeah. Well, if you said, "What's the name of that dwarf that's in that show?"
I don't know. I just imagine her being about knee height. I don't know. She's just one of those people that looks like they're very short.
Yeah, well, you're wrong. She's actually 6'2" in real life.
Sorry, Rona Cameron, in respect her.
Speaking of 6'2", do you ever remember like moderately funny comedienne Miranda, whatever her name was?
Oh, moderately funny. You're way overhyping it up.
Hello, I'm extremely tall. Isn't that amusing?
No. Hobbit, you're missing the whole act. The whole act is, hello, I'm tall, I'm thick, and I'm clumsy.
Yes, that's it. You got it to a T. It's comedy genius. Like,
yeah, but you don't get it. I'm tall and I'm thick and I'm clumsy in every episode.
I tower over men. How awkward.
And I'm thick and I'm clumsy.
I don't like Brexit.
Yeah. I bet she don't like Brexit.
Either, no.
So...
I did Brexit once. I never wash it down.
So anyway, so there's no much between Iona and the Lord. Today, the expression is used to denote the numinous and the presence of divinity, as well as the unearthly. One reminder of the island's pre-Christian past is the Faery Hill of Scythian Moor, where if approached correct. What?
We got answers in the chat now, Hemi.
What?
Nicholas Sturgeon is a Scottish midget.
Yeah. I didn't mean just random ones. I was talking about that one comic that's name sounds like Iona.
Wasn't he from Rutland?
Miranda.
Is Miranda from Rutland?
I don't know. The only person I know from Rutland is British science fiction author Peter Hamilton.
Oh, yeah. What's his bit again?
Well, he writes stories.
No, he did a bit, didn't he? The thing.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that one.
No, that's Douglas Adams. And he's very old school London, isn't he?
I was going to say, I don't think he's from Rutland.
Yeah.
So fairies, then, what's that all about?
So anyway,
you've turned into Peter Kay now.
So
remember fairies?
Yeah.
What were all that about?
Do you remember when your nan used to bring fairies in? The Faery Hill or Scythian Moor, where if approached correctly, the little people will grant wishes. The hill has always also been referred to as Knock Nan Angel. That means something, apparently. As I'm pretty sure that's an anagram of something. It is, as it is the location where St. Columba had been conversing with angels. Of course, the Fairy Hill would be bound to hold attraction for Netta, but why was she drawn to Iona in the first place? The key is most likely the fairy woman who put the F in Iona. What? Ooh. None other. Oh, God, that's terrible. She put
Fiona,
the F,
isn't it?
She put the F in Iona, none other than Fiona MacLeod. You get it? F, Iona, Fiona.
I beat you to it, didn't I?
Yeah. Whose fantastical writing about the beautiful remote island would have called to Netta Fonario's fairy-haunted heart.
Scottish convention on naming law, where your names have to be like Rona, Fiona, and Siobhan, which is spelled Siobhan.
Siobhan.
Theoban.
Escorted by an unknown female companion, Netta arrived on Iona with enough luggage to suggest she intended to stay for some time. Once settled in lodgings organised ahead of the journey, the companion, most probably Miss Varney, departed. From this point, Netta was to rapidly go into freefall, despite a promising start. According to Steve Blamires, something. Netta at first resided with Mrs. McRae, who spun a great many tales of local fairy folklore to her entranced new lodger. Mr. Blamires, in his second study of MacLeod, The Little Book of the Great Enchantment, notes that William Sharp, as a frequent visitor to Iona, had also lodged with Mrs. McRae some 30 years earlier. Francis King avers much the same. God, there's some weird language in this. Minus any references to Sharp. However, Ben Oakley in Death on Iona states that he checked the island's records only to discover that no one called McRae had lived on Iona during the 1920s. What we do know is that Netta stayed in an attic room with the family at the family home of Catherine and Donald Cameron and their 3 children. The Camerons' remote picturesque croft, and that child would grow up to be the idiot that we had as Prime Minister. And I don't know, probably not. Or Rona Cameron. What do we think the child of the Camerons grew up to be? David Cameron or Rona Cameron?
Yes, they're brother and sister.
Oh, okay then. Remote picturesque croft could have provided the
comedian Rona Cameron or David Cameron. I always like what David Cameron did. He says, regardless of the outcome of Brexit, I will stand here as Prime Minister. Oh,
and I will pull the lever tomorrow. And even if you do choose wrong, I'll still pull that lever. And then next thing was next thing you were showing a clean pair of heels from Mr. Cameron, weren't you? So the Camerons' remote picturesque croft could have been provided the perfect respite for their bohemian boarder. Netta set up her typewriter on the small desk in the attic and gave much of her energy to writing. She was also observed while sitting on the shore with a pen and a notebook in which she was absorbed. The remainder of her visit was spent much as it had been in London, going into trance states. Worrying for Miss Varney, she received a letter from Netta claiming that she had a terrible healing case on and would be staying on the island for the foreseeable future. Unconventional as ever, Netta had warned the Camerons never call a doctor if anything happened to her. This may have been a reaction to her father, or even a fear of being institutionalised once more. Nevertheless, the days passed and the woman's behaviour became... We're nearly done. We're heading into the final stretch, lads. 2 pages left.
2 pages, that's not bad.
Increasingly unsettling, culminating in long nocturnal walks that sometimes took in the Faery Hill. Autumn does not loiter long in Scotland, and the weather was already bowing to winter's inclemency. And yet the wanderer, who must have
seen the Faery Hill,
yeah,
yep,
who must have seen more ghosts.
It's a fairy mound, but,
yeah,
you know,
a fairy mound.
To a hill. Yes.
And yet the wanderer, who must have seen more ghost than human on her midnight forays, took little heed of the cold. Following these moonlight perambulations, Netta tended to sleep for most of the day, but on Sunday the 17th of November, she rose early and notified the Camerons that it was imperative that she leave Iona immediately. The only way to depart from the island was by ferry, but as Donald and Catherine are said to have told her, they didn't run on the Sabbath. Oh no. In spite of their advice, she still went to the shore for verification. Not a single ferry in sight. Netta had no choice but to return to her lodgings, where she locked herself in for the remainder of the day.
I'd like to point out to the audience, right, that in these small remote places, ferries have to do double duty as both freight and passenger.
Yeah.
So there has been times where you could describe it as the ferry.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because people are transported to and from the island.
Not a single ferry in sight. Netta had no choice but to return to her lodgings, where she locked herself in for the remainder of the day. In the evening, she briefly emerged from the attic, and to relief the family, appeared to have calmed down. The next morning, when breakfast was brought up to the attic, there was no sign of Netta. Police officers from nearby Mull is that Mull of Kintyre?
More than likely.
Mull of Kintyre. I don't... Fucking awful song.
I heard Malt Wine's very popular in that place.
Yeah. I know there's a place very nearby called Sofa Kintyre. See if anybody gets that one.
I'm lost on that one.
Sofa Kintyre.
I'm still.
You have more fucking chance.
The next morning, when breakfast was brought up to the attic, there's no sort of blah blah blah. So the police came. Once the islanders failed to find her anywhere amid Iona's craggy terrain, her body was eventually discovered by two farmers on the afternoon of the Tuesday, 19th of November. Although news travelled more slowly in 1929 than it does today, the press in the UK, as well as the US and Italy, hyped up the lurid elements of the case. The Daily Chronicle was to go overboard. Doctor's daughter who dabbled in the occult. Woman of mystery dead on the lonely isle. Mystic journey to seek the unseen. The furore and embellishment surrounding Miss Flanario's death was worthy of a story by Fiona MacLeod, whose Scottish lilt Netta had followed like one of the children in thrall to the Pied Piper, all the way to the magical hill. In Italy... where was I? So, in Italy, one newspaper noted that Professor Fronario had received a telepathic message concerning his daughter's death. However, the most commonly reported and relatively sane statements concur that death was likely due to exposure. In an unbalanced state, Netta Fornario had left the safety of the attic room and plunged into the frosty... excuse me. Into the frosty darkness, shoeless and wearing nothing but a black cape. The only item she took with her was a kitchen knife. One odd detail for someone who refused conventional religion was the fact that she was found wearing a silver crucifix, and she had allegedly carved a cross into the turf where she was found. We'll never know exactly what happened to Netta in the depths of that chill November the night. Yeah, we do. Fairies killed her. Scratches on her feet suggest she may have been running to keep herself warm or doing magical circuits around Faery Hill 9 times, being the traditional number of laps to rouse the good people. In the process of dying, many people hallucinate. Perhaps Netta confused such hallucinations with visions. As her life ebbed away, she may have been seen something that so unnerved her that she was compelled to carve a cross in the turf for protection. Or she was desperately trying to reach the fairies deep below Iona's venerated ground. At the end of the immortal hour, one of the main characters, in a state of anguish, cries out, my dreams, give me my dreams," to which a shadow god out of the fairy folk responds, "There is none left but this, the dream of death." The steadfast community of Iona clubbed together to pay for Netta's funeral on the island. She was buried in the company of kings and chieftains in the grounds of the old abbey. Indicating a life cut short, her gravestone is that of an open book, now moss embedded, bearing her initials and the date of death, 19th of November 1929. So there we go.
So a sad ending, wasn't it, all in all?
Yeah, there is a little bit more. Fantasy Island debunking some... No, we don't want to debunk myths on this show, do we?
With that's got a midget as well. Fantasy Island, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll show you to your room, sir.
And he was in that Bond film as well.
Yeah, Nick Nack. He was Nick Nack in that.
Live and Let Die.
No, Goldfinger.
Oh, it was the one with Bond cons the tarot card woman.
No, Nick Nack weren't in that one.
Was he not?
No, he was Scaramanga's butler.
Is it? I like that one anyway, where Bond has the pack of cards.
No, you like that one because it's got Jane Seymour in it.
Oh, she's hot. But also, I like that pack of cards where he says he deals the card where it's him and her, and then he deals the next card and it's.
Oh, he does like the comment, doesn't he, where he goes, she's not a virgin anymore.
And he fucks her, and then he drops the pack of cards, and they're all the same card. He's pulled a dirty trick on her just because he's obsessed with getting his end away. I don't think it's like that anymore.
Do you reckon he pulled a dirty protest on her as well?
I don't know, But he just used to, the old Bond films, it was just him, pulling loads of women. Whereas I think now, I haven't seen the new ones, but apparently it's not like that anymore.
He does a lot of crying now, I think. I think he cries.
Yeah. And he's probably got a boyfriend now, hasn't he? Knowing this day and age.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not bad. No, it's pretty good. So that's the Faery mound.
The hairy fairy mound and the woman who died on the hairy fairy mound. But it's alright, it was just hairy
triangle.
It was just a prank, bro. It was just hypothermia, bro. Weren't the fairies.
We got there. Well, we've got that. The woman with a hairy back. Or, if you want, I could do a strange death. You fancy a strange death?
You could do. Oh, you got a recent episode of the 14 times.
I got last month's 14 times. If you want this one, it doesn't go on as long as yours. But from Strange Deaths, a 32-year-old construction labourer, identified only by his first name, Sabarish, was wandering drunk in Bengaluru, India, when he ran into 6 of his friends who were setting off fireworks to celebrate Diwali. They invited him to join in and challenged him to sit on the box of fireworks while they set it off.
That's a good idea, that. He sounds like a clever fella, he does.
Well, the thing is, though, if he did it, they promised to buy him an auto rickshaw if he completed the day. Sabarish duly sat on the box while his equally drunk friends ignited the lot. The whole box went up, and with that, the later went viral on social media. It shows Sabarish being enveloped on the ground, and according to Sabarish's mother, he came and told me that they'd set off fireworks and he had sustained injuries, adding that, as my son was drunk, I believed his version. I rushed to the spot with my younger daughter, and with the help of those youths, we rushed him to the nearby hospital. Sabarish had sustained severe burn injuries to his buttocks, abdomen, anus, lower genitalia and thighs, and his burns were deemed to be so severe, bear with me, so severe to treat locally. So his mother said, around 1 a.m, he was moved to the burns ward at Victoria Hospital, where he died. CCTV revealed that Sabarish had not set off the fireworks, as he had claimed, resulting in the arrest of his friends for culpable homicide. So there you go. So don't go sitting on boxes of fireworks and setting them off, is the moral story. Yeah.
Ooh. I understand how that isn't manslaughter.
Well, I suppose his friends shouldn't have done it, should they?
Yeah, it's in India. I don't think they have manslaughter charges in India, do they? If they had manslaughter charges in India, everyone would be in fucking prison, wouldn't they? After returning home following a visit to the bathhouse, Anand Yadav, 35, from Chukalunglo village in Chhattisgarh, India. Honestly, they are spelt like that. Complained of dizziness, then fainted. Family members rushed him to hospital, but he was pronounced dead on arrival, despite strenuous efforts by medics to revive him. Exactly why Yadav had died so suddenly remained a mystery until his post-mortem. Then the pathologist, Dr. Santu Bag, made an incision in Yadav's throat and discovered that a 20cm, 8-inch long chick jammed in it, obstructing his trachea and esophagus, which had caused death by asphyxiation. Remarkably, the chick was still alive, but it died later. This is the first time I've encountered such a case in my career, having conducted over 15,000 post-mortems. The findings shocked us all, said Dr. Bag. Yadav's family have not commented on his death, but he'd been married for several years without having children. It was believed that he had been consulting a tantric a kind of local healer, for help. Such practitioners are frequently accused of dubious and dangerous occult practices. Locals believe that Yadav may have tried to swallow the chick as part of a fertility ritual. What does he need fertility for if he ain't got a bird?
Sure, but the tantric, that's what Sting does, isn't it? With his
that's where you have
wife,
sex for hours and don't jizz.
For about 10 hours.
Yeah.
And also I do did you say Dr. Bag? Interesting name.
Is it just me? Just like everything in India take far too long. I mean, like sex takes an entire day, and then praying takes 6 months. There's no wonder they don't achieve anything.
What about this one then? Let's have a look at this one. On the 11th of November 2024, a woman customer at the Indianapolis branch of a gym chain called Planet Fitness complained to staff about the foul stench coming from the tanning room. On investigation, staff found the remains of Derek Sink, 39, on one of the tanning beds. Gym records and data from the ankle tag Sink was wearing showed that he had entered the gym on the 8th of November and had never left. A needle was found close to the tanning bed where Sink was discovered, and his family were reported that he had been struggling with drug addiction. It is believed that the ankle tag that he was wearing related to a recent drug-related conviction. It seems probable that Sink took an inadvertent drug overdose before entering the tanning bed on the 8th of November, and Dald was using it, remaining undiscovered until the 11th. So there you go. That's unusual, you know. If you're a drug addict, the last thing you want to do is like go on top of your tan, surely. But anyway, that's what we
perhaps learning from the case of Laura Riley, who was arrested after police found her with a bag of drugs prominently labelled bag of drugs. Mia Bagenstos, 37, and Reginald Reynolds, 35, put their drugs in a bag labelled definitely not a bag of drugs. This did not fool the police officers, who pulled over their stolen car in Portland, Oregon, and arrested them for unlawful possession of methamphetamine and driving a stolen vehicle.
Here's the thing, right? That if I was going to commit like one crime, like stealing a car, I wouldn't have other crimes in the car. Or here's an idea.
Exposure.
Yeah.
What's more important now? The bag of drugs, which I've marked definitely not a bag of drugs, or the stolen car.
Yeah.
Well, I think I quite like drugs, and I'd like to do some drugs tonight.
Yeah.
So how about I rent a car instead, or use my own legally purchased car, or borrow a car, and not outright just steal a fucking car. I got
How about this one then? Anne Elliott from Tennessee was baffled when the package of clothing that arrived from fashion retailer Shein. Is it Shein? Shein? I'd call it Shein.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Also contained a dented can of Mexican beans and a vial of human blood. The vial was from a company that carries out medical testing who are mystified.
Beans?
What?
I didn't know it's a can of Mexican beans. Do you open up and it goes, ay caramba, ay ay ay?
Yeah.
What?
The vial was from a company that carries out medical testing who are mystified as to how it got into Elliott's parcel. Well, Sheen said that when the package left them, it contained only the items in the order. After Elliott contacted the CDC, they described the incident as a major biohazard and sent the local police to collect the vial. They left the beans, though.
It's a bit fucked up. Let's have a look. After an 83-year-old man in Bremen, Germany, died of organ failure and septic shock at the city's Red Cross hospital, doctors did a blood test to determine what had caused the infection. They discovered that he had died from Capnocryptosophagia canimorphosis.
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah, a bacterium that is common in pets, but really infects humans, which medics concluded that he had acquired through being licked by his dog. They advised that the pet owners with severe flu-like symptoms should urgently seek medical advice. Meanwhile, in Spain, a 38-year-old woman from Colombia collapsed from anaphylactic shock on the way to the health centre in Villarreal after being severely bitten by the family's pet hamster. Arriving at the centre, she suffered cardiac arrest and could not be saved. Hamster saliva contains proteins that can trigger allergic reactions, particularly after serious bites, and family members believe that the woman's asthma and anxiety could have made her response to the allergen more severe. So there you go. So be careful, hamster owners. Yeah.
Activists from the Farm Transparency Project installed a secret camera at Midland Bacon in Victoria, Australia, to capture illegal industry practices. That was easy for me to say. To their surprise, it filmed a 30-year-old man performing a sex act on a pig. They turned the video over to police, who charged the man with bestiality. Fucking vile cunt.
He fucked a pig.
He fucked a pig. He done a Cameron.
Well, that was Cameron put his dick in the pig's mouth, didn't he?
He done a Big Dave.
So let's have a look. That was in the Bullington Club, which Boris, Cameron, and other posh blokes were members of. Let's have a look then. So what we got? Another strange death. Let's have a look. 5 people fell ill, and 3 of them died after eating Christmas cake at a family gathering in Torres, Brazil. Some of the family members complained that the cake had a peppery taste, and began suffering vomiting and diarrhea, resulting in them seeking medical help and at the local hospital. Shortly after admission, sisters Madia and Flores and Silva had died from cardiac arrest, while 65-year-old Diaz de Silva died later from shock after food poisoning. Blood tests revealed that the presence of arsenic in the bodies of everyone who had eaten the cake, with the unnamed woman who made it having had the highest concentration. She was the only member of the group to have had 2 slices, but survived the poisoning. Police were not clear at the time of the reports whether the poisoning had been intentional or accidental, but when they searched the house, they found several date-expired food items that they sent off with the cake for testing. Police also retested an examination of the cake's maker later. The cake maker's late husband's body for test. He died of what is believed to be food poisoning in September, but his death was deemed natural at the time. So be careful when eating Christmas cake.
Hobbit, this one's right up your street, this story. Self-described therapists Rajiv and Rashmi Dubni from Kanpur in India are being sought by police over claims they could reverse damage caused by excessively polluted air using an Israeli-made time machine and oxygen therapy. They persuaded at least 24 people that this would reverse aging by up to 20 years and even restore damaged internal organs, pocketing at least 350 million rupees, which is 3.3 million, in the process. They promised visible results within months, but skipped town before the time came, leaving clients angry, out of pocket, and no younger.
Bollocks.
Yeah.
Do you want to show the audience the new Fortean stamps that the Royal Mail has released? We have a look.
Oh yeah, we can have a look at the stamps actually. Right.
Yeah, should we have a look? You might like this, Hobbit. This is something you might like.
Are you what are they called? What stamp collectors called?
There's a link there. I'll stick it in the if we haven't got it already.
No, I meant what stamp collectors called? Philatelists? Philatelists, is it? The Loch Ness Monster portrayed in new Royal Mail stamps, celebrating myths and legends. They kind of. Why is the Loch Ness Monster swimming in piss?
Then there's a pound for me sporran.
Ian, why is the Loch Ness Monster swimming in piss?
Because he's that photo was taken in a Hobbit's sink. That's why.
Is that the baby Loch Ness Monster when he used to swim in Hobbit's sink?
That's the multi-hump monster, so that's pretty good. But there's a few others here. Should we have a look at the
So if you want this new groovy set, you got Beowulf and Grendel, which is obviously a mythical tale.
If you want the new groovy set, it'll cost you about 20 quid, probably, because it's so fucking expensive now.
You got Blood Wed, which is a Welsh tale of a woman who's made of flowers. See, she's made of flowers.
Blood Wed is the Welsh demon, and I Wankin is Michael Hutchins's Welsh cousin.
Yeah. And there's the Loch Ness Monster swimming in his piss there. There's Cornish Piskies.
Yeah. Piskies, of course. The
That's
little
pixies.
people.
That's pixies for normal people. There's Fionn Mac Cumhall. Kernhall.
Fionn Mac Cumhole, and I've seen a film that she has done with two guys.
That's the Giant's Causeway. How's the Giant's Causeway reportedly made?
I thought that was a road. It's actually a mythical beast.
It's that bit with all the weird shaped rocks, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, Hobbit's gone to sleep. Obviously, he's not going to contribute any more to this episode.
Died.
What?
I can see Black Shuck there as well, the demon dog of Norwich.
He's Norfolk, isn't he? Have you noticed they're all equally from different places?
There are several Black Shucks around, so it's not just Norwich, but that's where the main.
Well, Black Shuck's Norwich, isn't he? But there are other black dogs are available.
Yeah, and you can call them Black Shuck if you want. It's not the end of the world if you call them that.
So, according to legend, a form of geomyth, the columns that are the Rains of Causeway were built by a giant. The story goes that Irish giant Fionn Mac Cumhale, Finn McCool, from the Fenian cycle of Gaelic mythology, was challenged to a fight by the Scottish giant Benandonna.
Yeah.
Bender over, whatever his name is. Fionn accepted the challenge and built the causeway across the North Channel so the two could meet. In one version of the story, Fionn defeats Benandonna. In another comment telling the story, Fionn hide from Benandonna when he realised that his foe is much bigger than he is. Fionn's wife, Sadpa, Sadhubba. I don't know. How do you pronounce Sadhbh? Sadhubba.
Yeah.
Disguises Fionn as a baby and tucks him in a cradle. When Benandonna sees the size of the baby, he reckons that its father Fionn must be a giant among giants. He flees back to Scotland in fright, destroying the causeway behind him so that Fionn won't be able to chase him down. Across the sea, there are identical basalt commons, part of the same ancient lava flow at Fingal's Cave on the Scottish Isle of Staffa. It is possible the story was influenced by this.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So now who Cumhall is, whatever Camille, whatever his fucking name is.
Yeah, Fiona Cumhall. Yeah, it's fair enough. What about that one though?
Hairy Muff.
Scroll down. No, not the hairy muff. That's 70s porn, and I saw GLC live before Christmas, and they've got a song called, what is it called? I think it's called 70s Bush.
Yeah.
Which is about that, if you like that kind of thing. But, a trip down memory lane for us all.
Yeah, other kinds of vaginal topiary are available.
What is that one though? There, if you scroll
Grindylow,
we've got that. No, the woman with like inside a seal skin.
Oh, so Grindylow is just like a monster. Apparently, it features in.
That's a Christmas thing, isn't it? Is that right? Or
no, it's just like a swamp thing.
Or is that Wendigo?
Wendigo. Blimey, Wendigo's ancient. It's Native American myth,
and the Wendy house was what we call in school. We called the remedial building with the remedial kids. We called that the Wendy house. Cruel, but that's what kids are like, isn't it? We called it the Wendy house and the A-Team.
Oh, Selkies are mythological creatures that can shapeshift between seal and human forms. So it's like a werewolf, but it turns into a seal.
Well, yeah, but she's not though, is it? She's inside a skin. She's not actually transforming there. That's actually a shit stamp. I quite like the other stamps, so they look quite good.
I don't know, she's got nice legs on her. The Selkie's got some nice legs on her.
Yeah, she's hot. I wouldn't say no, but
so typical folktale is that of a man who steals a female Selkie's skin, finds her naked on the seashore, and compels her to become his wife. But the wife will spend her time in captivity, longing for the sea, her true home, and will often be seen gazing longingly at the ocean. She may bear several children by a human husband, but once she discovers her skin, she'll immediately fuck off back to the sea.
I'd fuck her, but yeah.
Just a fantastic poo. Thanks for asking.
If you find a Selkie, just throw a baby in her. Apparently,
just do a poo in the loo.
Yeah, just do a poo in her head.
Maybe
it's a poo in the loo.
Scat. Maybe she's into water sports as scat.
Telepathy. What's all that about here? You ask. Well, interesting enough, there's a white paper. Where is this white paper? Here, I'll put a copy of the link.
I know what it is. Don't they usually have a Confederate in the target area?
But you had a white.
Yeah,
you had a white paper. You had a white paper just now, but there was brown Hobbit.
It's not a journalist that wrote this. It's a science person from the Science Place, where what's his name? The amazing Randy wasn't invited.
Yeah, but there's always they always have someone helping them out in the target area.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
A major barrier to the acceptance of psi is having someone in the target area.
Yeah.
Is that effects are small and hard to replicate. To address this issue, we developed a novel neurobiological model to study this controversial phenomena based upon the concept that the brain may act as a psi inhibitory filter. It inhibits psi abilities. Our previous research in individuals with frontal lobe damage suggests that this filter includes the left medial middle frontal region. Funny enough, do you remember that dickhead I told you about? The one who's got an inoperable brain tumor and they keep scooping out bits of his brain?
Yeah.
He sees ghosts and all sorts of weird phenomena.
So are you saying he actually sees it then?
Oh, I'm actually convinced he sees something, yeah. So, where we go? This filter, right. We report our findings and have we participants with RTMS.
Is that like our NHS?
Yeah, well, it doesn't go on to explain what RTMS is, but then we got a bit of context here. RTMS induced reversible brain lesions. In support of our a priori hypothesis, we found a significant side effect following RTMS inhibition of the left medial middle frontal lobe. This significant effect was found using a post hoc weighting procedure aligned with our overarching hypothesis. This suggests that the brain may inhibit psi and that individuals with neurological reversible RTMS-induced frontal lesions, I think it's almost worth looking at what RTMS is. The R is small, the TMS is uppercase. Induced frontal lesions may comprise an enriched sample for detection and replication of this controversial phenomena. Our findings are potentially transformative for the way we view interactions between the brain and seemingly random events. Do you ever get telephone telepathy? I think about someone, and then 2 hours later, they either ring me up or they message me. It's not an active thing, by the way. I can't just think, I would like to talk to X, and then no, I can't summon people.
Oh, I found could we have psi abilities of our brains then inhibit them? I found the full article here of it. Is it from the Bio Foundation?
It's got some names on the front of it. Morris Friedman, Malcolm A. Binns, Jede Meltzer, Rohila Hashamamami, and Robert Chen.
Yeah, so it throws up a lot. If you put RTMS frontal lesions, I can't actually tell you what for RTMS frontal lesions are because repetitive. It's repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. So it's it's similar to the one when they showed when
they switch off bits of the brain using magnets. Yes. How do they work?
Yeah, fucking magnets. How do they work?
The headline of this is called "Enhanced Mind-Matter Interactions."
Oh yeah,
following RTMS
Science Direct.
RTMS. Yeah, the abstract sort of says enough. I'll read the rest of the abstracts, and then you can.
Hold on. Do you want me to just do the quick bit? Transcranial magnetic stimulation (TMS) of the human frontal cortex. Implications for repetitive TMS treatment of depression. Oh, so it could be used to treat depression as well.
Yeah, just like zap the bit of your brain which is depressed, and bam, you're not depressed anymore.
Yeah, bam, and the depression's gone.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Barry Scott. Hey, I've got some magnets.
Isn't that how a lobotomy works? Like, you put
a lobotomy is where they get a metal spike, and then I don't know, is it up your nose or down the side of your eye?
Yeah.
It's either up your nose or down the side of your eye. I can't remember what it is, and then they bang it in with a little hammer.
Yeah, so lobotomies originally were done properly, and then the bloke that was being a quack about it was just like, oh, it's much easier if I just use an ice pick and jab it up someone's eye.
I think it's the inside of your eye, isn't it?
Well, it turns out the bit which was surprising about this was how close he was to a major artery, but most of the patients he did it to, well, victims, I should say, survived.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be in the few unfortunate cases, he was a bit too close to the artery. It's like, oh dear, you're pissing blood all over my office. Because he didn't even do it in a surgery. It was just
can you stop bleeding on my floor, you fucking scumbag?
I don't think they carry out this procedure anymore as well.
All he do is he wiped down his desk with a bit of Dettol in between things, and just wouldn't even bother washing his hands and used the same ice pick. And it's just like, you're a 17th century surgeon.
They actually used 108 people in this, so they did it with a few people. So if you want to know the nerdy stuff of it, RTMS at 5 hertz.
Yeah, and that does it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So there's this thing. My dad was telling me about this. He was saying about LFO, and not just the band, what made the song called LFO.
Yeah.
But you were saying that in these tunnels, there's these low frequency standing waves, and they terrify people, and they talk about ghosts and stuff like that. And they said because they got these low frequency standing waves, you're walking along fine, and you go to a certain area where the low frequencies are all collected, and you just completely hallucinate and spins you out and does all sorts of wacky things. And then, of course, you want to flee the area because it's horrible. And then once you flee the area, you get away from it. But it's very interesting, the phenomenon of these underground tunnels. They cause all sorts of strange things to happen. I was in the Hypogeum many years ago, and that
because traffic noise can do it as well, can't it? They think that's what happens with a lot of these so-called haunted cellars, don't they?
Well, with the Hypogeum, I noticed that it wasn't terrifying. It was just really quite magical. But the staff were telling me off, telling other people off as well for making a noise, and just like, but don't you understand? This is an auditorium. You're supposed to make noise.
Yeah.
So I just waited for them to wander off a bit, and I hummed, and then they just came back to escort me. It's like, you stay with the group. And I was like, oh, I see. This is. They weren't exactly like military, but they're very sort of official, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I think that's why we did the episode on the UNESCO stuff, because I just got annoyed all these interesting sites, UNESCO takes control of them and buries the evidence. Oh, speaking of burying the evidence, I haven't got the article in front of me, but there's these giant humanoid skeletons. They found them in Australia. And when I say giant, I'm like 8 foot tall, not 80 foot tall. They're humanoid, and they look like Homo sapien or like some other sort of
they look like
hominid.
Where do they Hobbit?
Yeah, and they predate the Homo erectus by like billions of years. Well, a couple of years, billions, centuries, billions, a number. And they're in Australia. But in an act of just political spite, they've taken the bones and they've buried them in an undisclosed location in Australia because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Oh, okay.
And I don't even know why they're clinging to this out of Africa narrative, because that's been like conclusively disproven.
They've found older skeletons than Africa all over the place, aren't there? There was that one found in, was it Eastern Europe, was it? A while ago.
The Homo sapien skeletons predate any skeletons found in Africa by 40,000 years. And that's Homo sapiens, not Homo erectus, which still walks among us today, by the way. But, we're not supposed to talk about other hominid species. Whatever happened to the elves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the little Hobbit people?
Well,
to the lucky lads.
Yeah.
The Filipinos killed them.
Ate them.
Yeah, and as recently as the 18th century, Homo florensius.
Yeah.
They say that the
orangutan... Yeah, here you go. It's next to your tear duct living the dream, says.
Oh, yeah, well, that makes
Cunty Bollock says, I want to speak to the monkey grinder, not the organ failure.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Orangutans have vocal...
Right, any more for any more?
Well, the one thing is... Oh, yeah, they do. Right. Orangutans don't use auditory gestures. They do have a rich vocal repertoire that complements... So, the orangutan speaks like a human. I want to know, right, do orangutans have vocal cords? And the orangutan named Rocky has become the first to mimic human speech and is shedding exciting new light in the origins of how we talk. So this is a thing, right? It's been rumoured for a while that orangutans can speak, but they choose not to. They're quite smart creatures, orangutans.
As Rick Meld once said in the Young Ones, who invented the internal combustion engine? Was it Grey Pape? I don't think so.
Yeah, there's a lot of subliminals in the Young Ones.
Yeah.
And I don't really like the Young Ones. I think
fifth housemate as well. There's a fifth housemate, and you've got to look carefully to see him. But he appears in the background sometimes.
Who does? The fifth housemate, yeah.
Yeah.
There's too much of Alexei Sale and who's that other one in it? Ben Elton.
Ben Elton was only in it once, I think. Ben Elton won it. Yeah, I think he was only in it once, weren't he?
What I mean to say is Ben Elton was writing the episodes.
And he was kind of taking the piss out of himself. That's where he does that youth program. Is that in the Young Ones where he does that youth program?
Yeah, that is in the Young Ones.
Yeah.
But no, it's just he writes the episodes, and I could just like I'm not really fond of Ben Elton's writing. I did read a book by him. Have you ever read Stark? It's basically Greta Thunberg and a bunch of terrorists go and do some terrorism.
Yeah.
And nothing happens of it. Oh, except it's not climate change back then. It was the ozone hole. Do you remember the ozone hole was going to kill us all?
I remember the ozone hole.
Do you remember in RoboCop where they had that sun's cream, the factor 6 million sun cream, which if you put it on causes skin cancer?
Mm.
You know what I think's ironic about that is the fact that, well, it's like, yeah, sun cream does cause cancer. So, put some sun cream on or you'll get skin cancer. But this is literal poison.
Do you remember that when lefties used to be sceptical of big corporations? Now they cheerlead for them.
That's a far-right conspiracy theory. Leftists have always believed everything they've told because that's what a good citizen does.
Mm.
Remember the rap
Don't question the government.
Yeah.
Questioning the government is a bigoted thing to do. Oh, it's problematic. It's toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
It's Brexit.
Oh, no, don't talk about toxic masculinity. There's been a new program. The normies have a new program to watch that explains all about them.
I know that if you question the government, you end up with Brexit. So don't do that.
Mm.
Anyway, talking of Brexit, I've got to go. So I'll leave you to.
Are you Brexiting the show? Are you, Ian?
I am. Luke Littler's playing, so I'm gonna go and have a watch of that.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna Brexit the show. I'm gonna Brexit the show as well.
More
James
like
O'Brien won't like you.
Let's go to the toilet and do a dump.
More like Brexit. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yay, kids! Yay, kids! Protest Brexit, right?
Yeah. Do a poo in the loo.
Yeah.
Right. Bye all.
Night all. Stay spooky.
Whoa.